So hi, first things, sorry it's been such a long time since my last video, but there's been a bunch of illness in the family and a bereavement in fact, and so everything is very slow going at the moment. But I decided I'd do this little piece of work for someone because they're going home shortly and it needs doing, and it's obviously a little table lamp. So the problem with this table lamp, I've already taken it apart a little bit because I needed to order a spare part, is this guy. So this is the lamp holder. It's a 14mm end screw jobby, and it's push fit wires into this end, and over on here, and here is the top of the lamp holder, and so you can see kind of in there that there's actually a retaining section fitted in the bottom with clips on the side, and that clips onto these two lugs here. So this is a two-part lamp holder. So I was a bit afraid I wasn't going to be able to get hold of one, but I managed to get hold of a company called Lamp Spares in the UK, and I ordered a couple of different things just in case I needed to do some modifications. And then I found this one here, which is a two-parter, and it didn't have a technical drawing, but from the measurements it looked right. And when I put them side by side, we can see it's the right length. Fortunately, its slot is at the right place. Appears to be a similar design of slot and a very similar design of base unit. So I'm hoping that I can literally not replace the base unit and simply drop this into its place. This is a push fit wiring adapter, so you can't really remove the wires. So why am I? So first things first, why am I replacing? Well, obviously it's got damage just here. And it's obviously rather mucky and things on the inside, but I don't think it's had an electrical fault. There are some heat marks and things from the types of bulbs that have been inserted, but this really needs an LED bulb inserting. This is 250 volt 2 amp, it says, and this one says nothing at all. But I do anticipate LED bulbs going into this, so I'm not too worried. In terms of removing it, well, first things first, you just have to chop these wires. You possibly could manage to sort of get in there with a little proggly, pointy thing and open it up and pull the existing wires out, but I decided I would just refinish the ends. Because this is a pointy thing, you either have to put little ferrules on the end of the wires, because you can't put like multi-strands into it. They'll crush and not be a good connection. So you either have to tin the end of your copper wires, or you need to put a little ferrule on the end. This is very fine and there's not much space inside, so I'm just going to tin the end of the wires. So I'm going to remake those ends just so they're good. You know, the eagle-eyed will notice this is a perfectly functional holder, so why am I replacing it? Well, because this high collar here is a safety feature. The screw-in bulb has a metal sheath coming up quite high, and you could, you know, a kid for example could manage to get their finger in there, and that is a you know, that's the mains connection on there, so high voltage connection, so you don't really want that at all, and it's become a little bit brittle with age and what have you, so the new one of course going in. So let's have a little look at this thing here. So how do we get them out? Well, if we look at the design, we can see this has two little grippy things, so it's obviously going to just push together and it will click in place and it won't want to come out again. Now, to remove it, of course, what you need to do is just introduce a flat screwdriver and gently pry these outwards so that you can just lift this up above the start of the clip, and so it's resting like that, and then you'll be able to just take it out. You do it both sides, of course. So it's a little awkward, a little nerve-wracking, and you could, of course, crack these, in which case you do have to replace the whole bottom section. Anyway, let's have a look then at the bottom section in here. So the bottom section here doesn't appear to have any fixing points, but in fact what they've done is they've fixed on one of these, and then they've slid like a sleeve down the inside through which the cable is passing. Let's just try and ease this out, just using a pair of pliers, and we'll see what I mean. Here we go. So there we go. It's got a little plastic sleeve going down the inside, which is helping secure that bottom in place. So if we looked at it in here, it's going in like that. Now if we have a look in the bottom of this, it's quite kind of hard to see, I think. If I can put a bit more light in, that might help a little bit. Now, if we just look just here, there is a little knobble there, and that's for a screw that will lock it onto whatever you put up the middle of this. So this is threaded, and what happens is this screw here goes down, and it actually just pushes out one side of that thread a little bit, so it locks in place. Can't really see that locking mechanism on here, so I reckon I am going to just put the little sleeve back in there so that there's no metal corner. I've tried to unscrew it on the basis that it's probably a screw thread. Unfortunately, it won't unscrew. So it's either very, very tight, or they've actually put it in as a sort of thermal gripping thing or a glued item. So I'm not going to play with that further, because I'll just end up wrecking it, and then I won't be able to get it out, and I'll have difficulty. I'll have to drill it out or something, and then I'll have to fit this one. So I'm just going to leave it be. It seems perfectly pliable and flexible. On this end, of course, we have to peel back this base stuff. Now I've got to decide what I'm going to do with this. I've tried to do this so that it doesn't shrink back, but it has shrunk back a little bit. So I might have to replace this with a new piece of pad, unfortunately, which is really quite annoying. Yeah, I just don't think I can really quite stretch it sufficiently to behave itself. And I haven't cut this pad at all. It has just kind of shrunk back over time. It was obviously originally, you can kind of see the glue line on here, it was obviously originally a very, very marginal fit. And it is on this side here, in fact, because I haven't touched this side, and that's gone. So yeah, so I might have to try and find another piece of this stuff, I think, and stick it on. But in the meantime, I've kind of pulled it back where the cable comes in, and we can see that we have a cable relief clip, which I've undone already. The cable passes through it and then up the centre of the spike. And you kind of have to find that and release it, because you do need some length on your cable. So, excellent. So first job first, I'm just going to put this little plastic insulator back on, and I'll get this side stripped, and let's put a little bit of sleeving on these, which I will duplicate. And I'm guessing that we need to go in. Let's first of all just see how far that goes in before it hits the. That's about 5mm depth before we hit the connector. And the connector looks fairly deep, so I am going to put in perhaps a 10mm cut on the end there. And I just need to, literally just need to strip that. So I'm going to strip 15mm. Being careful not to go through, of course. I really should get a proper stripper for these cables, but they're not that difficult. Right. So let me just have a little look at this and just see how much space I actually do want. Yeah. So just tidy that up. I'll strip these to about that long, I reckon. That should do me. Oops, try that again. Nice and straight. And I'll just put just enough solder that it kind of slides into the. So by capillary reaction, it kind of slides in, and hopefully that will focus, and we can see that we don't have a big blob of solder on there. We've just kind of bound all the cables together. I'm just going to again, because I think that has actually, you know, there. So I just want just the very end of the inner cable showing through, because that's actually going to just vanish into the insulated part of this. Sorry, it's not in focus, but the insulated part of these holes, and not restrict entry of the cable. So don't go off that one. So I'm just going to nip off camera and just run my air gun up and put those on. So okay, job done. So these are now shrunk on. So I always think it's important to retain any insulation feature, even if you don't think it's necessary. So this is obviously a PVC cable, or PVC-like cable, and you know, potentially I suppose it could be susceptible to cracks and things after time with a bit of heat. So this is just an additional insurance job on top of that. The same as in here, you want to retain, even if you do have to replace this bottom section with something different, you want to retain that inner sleeve that stops the edge of this touching a piece of metal. The bottom has a cable gland that's holding everything in place, so you know, I don't think there's really an issue there. And of course that end's not getting hot, so the gland and everything not being hot is going to hold things in place here. But actually they do have even a plastic insert. You probably can't see it, but there's a plastic insert in there, so it doesn't present a sharp metal edge where the cable folds over. So you want to keep all of those safety features intact when you rebuild this. If you start looking up how to make a lamp for sale, you find there's an incredible amount of different regulations to deal with in terms of the electrical safety, and you want to retain every single one of those. All right, let's just check which end of this is the positive. So this side here, well, the live I should say. So this side here should be live, which is jolly convenient. That side there should be neutral. And just square them up a little bit so they can go in better. Fingers crossed. It should just push in. Well, that one has. This one I'm having a bit more difficulty with. I'll move it across to the diagonally opposite one. See if it will fit in that one better. Okay, there we go. That's it, they are both tight, and we will just push this up nice and tight. That's it's ready to go in, and hope to hell it fits. Ah, there we have it. Okay, we seem to be firmly in place. Got on our first ring. Very nice. And there should be another one of those rings somewhere. There it is. Also nice. Superb. So there we go. One repaired lamp. Pretty trivial job, I suppose. And now let's have a look at the other end. Okay, there we go. That's all nice and secure now. So I just need to look out another piece of this rubbery stuff, or something of a similar ilk that can go on the bottom. Alright, so time to do the base. I found this, which is basically the same thickness. It's like a shelf liner to make shelves nice and quiet. And I'm going to basically cut a disc from it, and I'm going to apply some tape just around the edge of this so that I don't accidentally spray onto a surface that I shouldn't spray on. So I normally use insulation tape for this type of job because it tends to have the ability just to curve around that top edge. I don't want it to go a long way because I actually do need glue on that edge, but that should do us. Right. Let's just apply my adhesive then. Trying to make sure I'm getting the adhesive on the edges. hopefully not a lot of other things. So that's that one done. And now what I'll do is I'll take my little bit of pad that I just cut and I've completely lost. And apply it to that as well. I'm just going to leave this for a few seconds so it goes tacky. That's useful for this particular glue. Now, because we've got this slightly crumbly bit just here, I'm actually going to apply the pad on that way so that we don't get horrible transfers. And there we go. Just don't want any sort of crumbly, nasty stuff to come out. Now we'll turn these papers the other way up and just trim with what is hopefully a sharp enough scalpel. I'm just sloping the scalpel inwards at about sort of 30 degrees or something like that, just so that the kind of hidden rim underneath this vanishes underneath the metal. See where I'm up to. There we go. Right, so now I just need to leave that to dry. Okay, after a considerable amount of effort I've managed to find. So if I pop this just into the old one for just a second to illustrate the problem. Yeah. So this is the safety problem that we've got with the old one. You can actually get your finger, even I've got very big hands, I can get my fingers straight in there onto that piece of metal. That piece of metal is connected directly to the mains. So that's no good. Let's try it in the new one. Yeah, and now we're unable to introduce anything down that space. There's just enough space to ventilate, but other than that, it's doing nothing. And there we have it. Wow. Beautiful. So our repair is done. It still needs to dry for a little bit longer, but basically it's done. I'm just going to give it a quick wipe over with some alcohol now, just to take some of the slightly messier stuff off it, and like I always do, I always like them to go back to the owner better than when it arrived. That'll be my top tip of the day, I think. It's kind of almost always give stuff back looking better than people remember it. So there is one other job I do actually need to do, which I won't bother recording, which is that I need to relabel this with some safety information. So I'll be replicating the original safety information that was supplied with the lamp, but in addition, and is on the back panel, but in addition to that, what I'll do is I will look up the spec for this new lamp holder and just make sure that whatever wattage, etc., is marked up for this is the lower of whatever that was and the original. So if, for example, this lamp holder can't take such big lamps, then I need to downgrade the original rating of the lamp. If it, however, can take bigger values, then I'll leave it unchanged, because that'll be about the cabling and the switch and things like that. And there we have it, superb. So we are job done. Let me just make sure that hasn't got any glue on it. Lovely, we're job done, it's all working. So there we go. So I have checked the plug had the wrong fuse in it, so I've replaced that, and actually the terminals were a little bit loose, so I've tightened all that up and just tidied up the plug, checked all the cable, pat tested it, given it a clean. Brand new base section. I'm picking up a bit of dust already from my thing, so I'm just going to print the safety label to go on the bottom, and yeah, we'll be done, I think. Actually, the safety label on here, so that's fine. And yeah, so we're ready to go back to the owner. Job done. It's a good one. So simple repair, but I hope you enjoyed it. Just got me back into the hang of making videos again after about a month's break. Perhaps not the most polished video. Sorry about that. All right. let's call that a day. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to subscribe and press the like button. And if you do subscribe, don't forget to click the notify bell, because otherwise you won't be told about new videos. The YouTube algorithm doesn't guarantee just because you're subscribed to let you know about new videos. So don't forget to click the bell if you want to know. Bye for now. See you next time.